The View is in full-blown crisis mode, and at the center of it all, Sunny Hostin. After years of calling out others, the tables have turned, and now she's the one facing major backlash. Could this be the beginning of the end for The View?
Just last week, Trump fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and Coast Guard, and he also eliminated all the members of a key aviation security advisory group.
Trump's latest shakeup in government leadership has sparked major controversy. Just last week, he fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and Coast Guard, alongside eliminating all members of a key aviation security advisory group. His actions have raised serious questions about national security and the administration's long-term strategy. Then, on Friday's episode of The View, things took a bizarre turn. The hosts, known for their divisive takes, opened the show with an unbelievably tone-deaf intro regarding a devastating aviation disaster, one that left dozens of people dead.
Welcome back. There's so much happening in Washington, D.C. that we have a lot to talk about with Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is joining us from our nation's capital right now because she can't go anywhere.
Instead of approaching the tragedy with solemnity, the panel's reaction seemed shockingly lighthearted, as if they found amusement in the tragedy. This strange response immediately sparked outrage online, with critics calling it disrespectful and out of touch.
She's kind of stuck, but you know, we always love it when you come to us, Senator Warren. So,
I'm Sarah.
Sarah has the first question.
Yes, one. Senator, we do have a lot to talk about, but we're going to start on a hard note. We want to ask you about the devastating plane crash last night. We're sending our thoughts, all of us here, and prayers to everybody affected by this disaster. You're in Washington right now. What's the mood like there?
Many question how a show that constantly preaches empathy and sensitivity could fail so miserably at showing either when it truly mattered. Was it a slip-up, or does this reveal something deeper about The View's agenda?
Look, you have hit the number one thing. It's about the families, the sad news that it appears no one survived. And my heart goes out to them, and I think everyone feels that.
Yeah, I'm not going to dignify his remarks about DEI. I'm not going to do that. But to Anna's point, just last week, Trump fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and Coast Guard, and he also eliminated all the members of a key aviation security advisory group. The Aviation Security Committee will technically continue to exist, but it won't have any members to carry out the work of examining safety issues at airlines and airports. I think that is very telling, that when, voters decide that they want someone to blow things up and they want someone to blow up infrastructures, this is the result.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joined The View from Washington, D.C., unable to travel due to pressing matters in the Capitol. The hosts wasted no time diving into the biggest headlines, with Sarah taking the lead. Senator, we have a lot to discuss, but we want to start on a somber note, Sarah began. The devastating plane crash last night has shaken the nation. We're sending our thoughts and prayers to everyone affected. You're in Washington right now. What's the mood like there? The tone of the segment was meant to reflect concern and gravity, but what followed raised eyebrows across the country. The show's tone-deaf handling of the tragedy had viewers stunned, questioning their approach to serious news. As Warren prepared to answer, the energy in the studio seemed almost detached, as if the topic was just another news cycle talking point rather than a real-life disaster. Critics were quick to call out The View for the lack of sensitivity, with many pointing out that the reaction felt scripted and insincere. Social media erupted with backlash, with viewers questioning whether the show's progressive messaging is genuine or just a convenient political tool. Once again, The View's making headlines for all the wrong reasons. You've hit the number one thing. It's about the families, Warren responded, her tone somber. The sad news is that it appears no one survived, and my heart goes out to them. I think everyone feels that way. For a brief moment, it seemed like The View might actually handle the situation with respect. But then, classic Whoopi and Joy, they took a turn for the worse. Yeah, she has a heart, one of the hosts quipped, before casually shifting the mood, brushing past the weight of the tragedy. What came next was so absurd, it could only happen on The View. They laughed about Warren being stuck in DC because of the very plane crash they were just mourning. It was a perfect snapshot of everything wrong with The View. One moment, preaching compassion, the next, mocking a real-life crisis. And to top it off, Whoopi Goldberg, in a moment of total disconnect, forgot her own co-host's name on national television. "Who the asterisk are you?" Whoopi blurted out, clearly lost. The irony? This show thrives on expert opinions, yet its own hosts can't even recognize each other. Then came Sunny Hostin, stepping in right after this train wreck of a segment, but not to offer clarity. Instead, she only added fuel to the fire. Sunny Hostin wasted no time jumping into the conversation, but instead of offering real insight on the tragedy, she pivoted straight into politics, a classic move straight from The View's playbook. "Yeah, I'm not gonna dignify his remarks about D. I'm not gonna do that," Sunny started, already setting the stage for her usual political spin. She then attempted to redirect the focus entirely. But to Anna's point, just last week, Trump fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and Coast Guard, and he also eliminated all the members of a key aviation security advisory group, the Aviation Security Committee. According to Hostin, this committee technically still exists, but it no longer has members to carry out critical work examining safety issues at airlines and airports. She didn't provide much context or facts, but the implication was clear. This was somehow Trump's fault. "I think that is very telling," she added, throwing another political jab, "that when voters decide they want someone to blow things up and they want someone to blow up infrastructures, this is the result." Notice what she did there? Instead of discussing the actual tragedy, she used it as an opportunity to push a political blame game. Rather than offering sympathy, solutions, or analysis, she spun the conversation into another anti-Trump tirade. It was a typical moment for The View, turning a national crisis into a partisan argument while completely ignoring the real issues at hand. What just happened here was a perfect example of misdirection, something The View has mastered over the years. Hostin tried to paint the tragedy as a direct result of Trump's decisions, but let's be honest, that doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Let's break it down. Now, did people vote for Donald Trump to blow some things up, like the deep state, figure out where all our tax dollars are going, and redo international deals? Yes. There's a massive difference between restructuring bureaucratic institutions and causing a plane crash. Yet The View seemed eager to connect the two without any real evidence. And then comes the real question. Is there any evidence that because somebody was fired last week, that somehow this pilot was flying up too high or something like that? No, there is no evidence of it. And that's the key takeaway. This entire talking point was baseless from the start. When discussing major events, should we look at policies, hiring practices, and structural failures? Absolutely. But should we recklessly assign blame before we even have all the facts? Absolutely not. Do we know if DEI played a role in this incident? No. But here's what we do know. There's a reason so many people no longer trust these institutions. They've been run into the ground by hiring incompetence instead of prioritizing skill and merit. Instead of looking at real policy failures, The View took the easy route. Blame Trump, ignore facts, and push another misleading narrative. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this controversy? Do you think Sunny Hostin will survive this backlash? Or could this be the final nail in The View's coffin? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get this discussion going. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on this crazy story. Trust me, this is just the beginning, and we'll be right here covering every twist and turn.